We have both the ONEXPLAYER X1 AMD and X1 Mini for review. This review is for the AMD model, but we will be comparing it with the Mini in terms of features and performance. Let's get on with it. But before we do, please take a moment to subscribe if you have not already. Thanks. The ONEXPLAYER X1 AMD measures around 9.9 by 6.4 by 0.5 inches and weighs 969 grams without the controllers. With the controllers, it measures around 13.9 inches and weighs just over 1000 grams. The display is a 10.95 inch 120Hz LTPS touchscreen with a 2560 by 1600 resolution. The screen size and resolution are a good combination for both work and gaming. There's a 1 megapixel camera at the top which supports Windows Hello for facial unlocking. On the left side are two USB 4 ports which you can use for high-speed peripherals, including external displays and storage. Below is a covered slot for the left side controller. On the right side is a USB-A 3.2 port and a micro SD card slot, and below that is the covered slot for the right side controller. Along the top we have the power button which has a built-in fingerprint scanner and a covered area for the 3.5mm audio jack and OCuLink port for connecting to an eGPU docking station, and on the far right is a button to bring up the control center overlay. It comes with a detachable stand that attaches via magnets. You can adjust the angle of the stand to suit your needs. Available separately are the ONEXPLAYER controllers. These are the left and right sides of controls that attach to the sides of both X1 models. It has your standard gaming controls including Hall effect analogues, and it comes with a detachable D-pad to suit your preference. The controllers simply slide and lock into place on the sides of the X1. There is a small button on the back to press which unlocks them and you can slide them back off. The connection feels strong and there's very little movement between the controller and X1. Also available to buy is the controller connector. This acts like a base for your controllers and again slides and locks into place. It has a 1200 mAh rechargeable battery inside. It connects via a USB dongle which is located inside the connector. You can connect this to any Windows device if you wish to. We did notice a bit of movement between the two controllers and the connector. Next we have the attachable keyboard. It easily connects via pogo pins and magnets to keep it in place. The connection is strong enough to not disconnect when the X1 is lifted, but don't try lifting it with the keyboard. The keys are a good size and height profile, pretty much what you would find on a comfortable laptop keyboard. I wrote this review using the keyboard and had no issues at all. And last but not least is the case for the X1 AMD. It has a strong finish on the outside and a softer material on the inside. It is large enough to fit the X1, keyboard attachment and stand. It's definitely worth using to help protect against knocks and scrapes whilst not in use. The ONEXPLAYER X1 features the popular AMD Ryzen 7 8840 CPU with AMD Radeon 780M GPU. We have seen this in various handhelds this year and we know it's a great performer for gaming. There are choices of 32 or 64 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM, and for storage there's 1 to 4 TB of M.2 2280 SSD. For communications there's Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2. Powering it all is a 65.02 Wh rechargeable battery. We ran Cinebench on the loop and got a battery life of 1 hour 57 minutes, with the X1 Mini lasting 3 minutes longer at exactly 2 hours. Average usage will vary, but expected around 6 to 8 hours. Also, whilst running Cinebench, we tested the fan noise and temperature. We got a highest fan noise of 62 decibels and highest temperature of 64 degrees C, slightly higher than the Mini by 2 decibels and 2 degrees. We will now run some system benchmarks to see how it performs with its X1 Mini counterpart, as well as some other 8840U based handhelds. We see just below average scores for the ONEXPLAYER X1 in PC mark. This can be down to slower RAM or storage speed, for example. The GPD Win4 2024 has very good SSD speeds, which can make a difference in this benchmark. For Cinebench, which tests the single and multi-core performance of the CPU, we see essentially the same scores for single core. In multi-core performance, we see it just short of the highest score, which the X1 Mini takes. For 3D Mark, we are running the Time Spy, Night Raid and Firestrike benchmarks. The X1 AMD does very well here, taking joint second place with the Mini. The X1 Ultra 7 model does take first place, but as we will see, actual gaming performance is not great on that model. Next are some gaming benchmarks at 1080p and 720p across a range of different TDPs for performance comparisons. On Forza Horizon 5 we see very good scores for 1080p performance at 98 frames per second. At 720p across the TDP range we can see very good performance again with the overall top frames per second. For Shadow of the Tomb Raider we see the X1 in first place with 81 frames per second. The high performance continues at 720p with some great scores across all of the TDP range. For Street Fighter 6 we again see very good frames per second results across both 1080p and 720p. Do keep in mind that these are at the highest graphic settings to really stress the CPU and GPU. Our last benchmark is for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. At 1080p we see near identical frames per second compared to the Win 4 and X1 Mini, and this continues with the 720p benchmarks across the range of TDPs. We are able to take advantage of an eGPU, such as the ONEXPLAYER ONEXGPU eGPU docking station, or even the GPD-G1. This will give us a massive boost in performance, not only for gaming, but also tasks such as image and video editing and encoding. We connected the ONEXGPU via OCuLink for the best performance, and run the following games at 2560 by 1600 resolution instead of 1080p and 720p. On Forza Horizon 5 we got 130 frames per second, on Shadow of the Tomb Raider we got 131 FPS, and on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 we got 92 frames per second. That's a large increase in performance, especially considering the higher 1600p screen resolution. Let's take a look at some games with the best resolution and graphic settings that are actually playable, along with some other settings if you want higher frames per second. Let us know in the comments what you think of 3-in-1 laptop, tablet and handheld gaming PCs. Do you prefer a standard gaming handheld like the GPD Win 4, a combined one like the Win Max 2, or the versatility of the ONEXPLAYER X1 series? The ONEXPLAYER X1 AMD is an interesting way to go for a gaming handheld. We like that you can remove the keyboard and controllers to transform it into a tablet, which is great for your day-to-day use in both home and work. You can add the keyboard if you want to type something longer, like a Word document for example. Then later, either attach the controllers to the X1 or use the controller connector and play some games either by handheld or having the X1 sitting on a desk. This gives you a bit more choice in how you want to use the X1, which is great. Much like the WinMax 2 24 with its covers ID controls. Admittedly, it's perhaps not as nice looking as the WinMax 2 with its built-in controllers, but you do have the convenience of swapping in and out of the keyboard and controllers as required. In terms of performance, we couldn't really fault the X1. In all but one of the benchmarks we had excellent scores, either the top or near to it. This is partly due to the newer AMD graphics drivers actually working well compared to the older drivers. Also, do keep in mind that the X1 has OCuLink support. The performance increase is great and we have no complaints here. The ONEXPLAYER X1 is an ideal choice for someone that desires a device that can be used in the office environment without drawing any attention. Then, whilst out of hours, you can easily game on it with attaching the controls or using the connector. You get the best of both worlds with the ONEXPLAYER X1 AMD. You can learn more about the ONEXPLAYER X1 and X1 Mini and order yours today from us at DroiX.co.uk or DroiX.net for worldwide shipping. Use the discount code OXPX150FF for 5% off on the checkout. The code is valid for 1 month of the posting of this review and cannot be used during store sales or other promotions. That wraps up our ONEXPLAYER X1 AMD review. We hope you have found it useful. Please subscribe to keep up to date with our latest videos. Thanks for watching and we'll see you back in the next one.